Welcome to Endeavor TV with three beautiful devices here, and actually we are talking about tablets today and comparing them a little bit, like for example the Sony Xperia Z3 compact tablet, then we have also the Nexus 9 here on the table and also an Apple iPad mini. What all of them have in common is of course that they are quite small. They are sub 10-inch devices, 8-inch, 8-inch and 9-inch, Nexus 9 hence the name, but we have different display resolutions, different hardware inside and different specs, as you will see here in this video. So let me unlock them all so you guys can look at beautiful screens here, and then let's see what we can do. So we have in the Sony the slimmest device, one of the slimmest tablets actually that are out there right now, and when I had it in first in my hand I was just wondering, is this real? Because it's really so light. It only has 270 grams and it's 6.4 millimeters thin. Now the Nexus 9, exactly the opposite, 425 grams, so almost 50% more, and also a lot thicker with 7.9 millimeters. And in the middle we have the Apple iPad mini. This is the second generation. I know the third generation has our fingerprint reader and is a little bit slimmer, but this one had 330 grams and is 7.5 millimeters thick. And I know the new one is still not better than Sony, so don't worry about that. I'm not being unfair about that fact. So otherwise, processor-wise, for example, we have one of the latest Snapdragon Qualcomm processors here in the Sony, which has been used in all the flagships like the HTC One M8 and the Samsung Galaxy S5. So that's the 801. Here we have an NVIDIA Tegra processor inside the K1, amazingly fast also again and quite slow, but Apple is not known for fast processors, they are known for their own processors. So we have the A7 in this one, but the A8 in the new one with the fingerprint reader, which has dual-core 1.5 GHz. Here we have quad-core 1.7 I think, and here we have quad-core 2.5 GHz. So really fast here, the Sony tablet, but also we have only 1920 times 1200 pixels that it has to calculate, so a little bit less than in these two, because here we have 2048 times 1536. Same number here on the iPad mini with the 7.9 inch screen, not 8 inch like the Sony. But you can see it's a little bit wider, that's why, but we will compare them in size at the end of this video. Until then, let me just talk a bit about specs. Like for example also RAM, it's also quite important how much processing power do you need, but also how much can you save up in your RAM. We have here 1 gig, 2 gig and 3 gig actually compared. That's a quite nice here uprising to the Sony. Also camera wise, the Sony wins again here with 2.2 on the front and 8 megapixel on the back, and actually that's even 8.1, so really quite good. Then the Nexus is also alright with 1.6 on the front and 8 megapixel on the back, but we have a flashlight here and the sensor is probably bigger and the lens, but the lens sticks out, which I don't like that much. Without a case, that's probably not that beautiful. Here we only have a 1.2 and a 5 megapixel camera. I think the latest one has maybe even an 8 megapixel camera, but I'm not sure because the iPads usually get a less good camera. But of course you can work quite nicely with all of them. Let me just open up on all of the smart tablets here the camera, so you guys can see a little bit how the picture looks like. This is a little bit reddish. This is the most clean picture I would say, especially when we look here at the sky. That should be white, not as blue and red as on the Sony, but you can actually change the colors of the display on the Sony quite easily. And if I just hold here something into the picture, you can also see the color difference here between all of them. And there maybe actually even the Apple iPad wins, because this should be actually white, not red like here. Anyhow, then again, I not only have the speaker here in the picture so we can compare that a little bit, but also so I can tell you that these two have of course NFC. All of them are available with LTE 4G, but NFC is quite handy, not to just only connect to Bluetooth speakers, but also we can easily exchange data between these two by just holding them together, or with smartphones or any other device that has Android by just holding them together. Now the latest Apple tablets have that also, but only for payment, and otherwise they have AirDrop, which is also quite easy, but I think a little bit more complicated than actually NFC, and NFC is a lot more secure because you have to have really physical contact. So what else can I tell you? Of course, battery life, We have here a huge 6400 milliamp battery inside, almost 500. Here 6700, even bigger, but here only 4500. But still, Sony doesn't need that much power because the processor is the one with the least power that it probably needs in everyday use. Compared to Apple, maybe the same. And also the display needs less power because it's smaller and the resolution is not that high. So that's also quite good. And therefore, that's again slimmer, lighter than the other ones. And yeah, that about the battery life. So let me just put them, all of them, on top of each other, and let's see how much they differ in thickness and design. So you guys can see a little bit, I just have to refocus here, that the Sony is really quite slim than the iPad and then the Nexus. The Nexus actually has also metal border here as we have here on the iPad, so that's of course completely out of metal, but Sony only has here the corners out of metal. And if you look at the back of all of the devices, we have here a rubberish feeling. Then we have here with the Sony also plastic on the back, but actually this feels a little bit less high quality, or maybe even more high quality than the Nexus, but it doesn't have a rubber coating. And then we have the iPad, which I've specially made here in orange, but it doesn't matter, this is metal and always feels usually the best, but it makes it heavier, and I don't think that it's sturdier just because it's metal. It just looks nicer than maybe a plastic tablet like the Sony, but if you have a case around it, I don't think that that matters much. And yeah, this was already it with my comparison of, I think, the 3 most important tablets 2014. Thank you much for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe. I would definitely recommend you to buy the Sony. It's also the cheapest with 4G available from $400, but all of them with Wi-Fi also available a bit cheaper. So definitely check out all of these in stores. Till next time, peace and again. My name is Balazs, and thank you much for watching.